Well, Street here on the African American Athlete Facebook page. I'm Ricky Hampton along with Tim Turner and Michael Robinson, and we're joined by a special guest this evening, former All-Pro receiver Terrence Mathis. Hey man, it's been so much fun doing these playoff editions with you guys and looking forward to going over the weekend's championship games. But I think it's only proper that we start the night off talking about the passing of a giant. The, the, the world of baseball lost the great Henry Aaron today at the age of 86. Hammer and Hank, we stand on his shoulders as us as journalists, Terrence as a professional athlete. I think I'll just start with you, Terrence, and get your thoughts on the passing of Hank Aaron.
Well, when it came across my feed today, I was like, wow, not another one. It's one of those things, you're lost for words, but then as you see all the tributes go out and listen to look at some and listen to the footage of his early times and the things that he had to go through whatsoever. So it gave me a couple of thoughts. Through death threats, through being caught out of his name, all these things, he decided to play anyway. Even though civil rights was going on, even though all these things that were going on and Black Americans trying to achieve, and he still played because he felt that I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not going to let all these social injustices stop me from doing something I want to do. It was almost like slapping those face that opposed him being out there, that he was going to be out there and not only be out there, break the record of the great white hope, Babe Ruth. Then secondly, there's some young people right now that are sitting with their dads and said, who is Hank Aaron?
Yeah.
Because we stopped doing Black history in public schools a long time ago. So our young people don't know their history. And then if you look at Major League Baseball, the lack of African Americans on that baseball field is almost as if our Black superstars in Major League Baseball have become forgotten. So, I think this is a time where we have to sit down and remember those, and then from the Negro League to the major leagues that have been a great contributor, not just on the field, but off the field.
That's well said. That is well said. Hey, Mike, I want to put this up because I know one of the highlights, I don't know who this young reporter is right here.
Nice.
Interviewing the Hammer. You were in Milwaukee. Tell us about your relationship with Hank.
All right. Well, for me, growing up there, just like I said on my post on Facebook, that I grew up in Milwaukee and Chicago. So I saw Walter Payton, all these great Chicago stars, and I saw the Milwaukee ones too. And then, of course, Green Bay played games in Milwaukee. So I got a lot of exposure in that area. As for Hank, of course, I remember seeing, as a youngster, the home run that put him over the top. But they were in Atlanta then because they moved from Milwaukee to Atlanta right around the time I was born. So I didn't catch the Braves years when they was in Milwaukee Braves. But I remember Atlanta, then he actually came back and ended his career in Milwaukee with the Brewers. So I caught that part of him. I got a chance to go to some of the games at County Stadium to see him. So then as time passed on, I go off to college and all that. And then in Pennsylvania, then I moved back home. I got a show in Milwaukee and all this stuff going on. And then Hank, of course, is at Milwaukee a lot more because Bud Selig was the owner of the Brewers for a long time. Then he eventually became commissioner. So that connection, he and Hank Aaron and Bud Selig were really good friends. So he would be in Milwaukee a lot. And then one time they did a tribute for Hank, and I got a chance to interview him on the field at County Stadium. And then this photo that you showed, that was at a Milwaukee sports facility, and got a chance to interview him there. And that was probably around 99 or 2000 before I moved out here to California. So that was definitely a great moment. So I talked to him about his days playing in Milwaukee and what Milwaukee means to him and the state of baseball. And he said he liked some of the younger players. You know, we talked about that. So absolutely cool, and definitely a highlight of my sports life.
Mike, and reading some of the posts from fellow journalists across the country today, it seemed like whenever Hank saw a brother, he seemed, I don't know, because I never got a chance to interview him, but reading some of the posts, seems like he was really outgoing to the Black reporters. Tim, I don't know if you had ever had a chance to interview him.
I did when I was down in Orlando. It was the 50th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier. And I went around a lot of spring training camps, interviewing different ball players. And I'm thinking about Hank, and you've always seen him as a very stoic, very cool, very measured guy. You never see him, agitated. It seems like he just was always in this calm state. I just come from over at Sarasota, which I thought was hilarious, looking at Frank Thomas's tweet today. All these laudatory things about Hank. I mentioned Jackie Robinson and was trying to do a story about the contribution that he made and how he was a groundbreaking ball player. And Frank was pretty much saying, Jackie Robinson didn't have anything to do with me. Or quotes to that like that. That's not an exact quote, but it was essentially that. And so I was interviewing and was down in West Palm Beach when the Braves were there before they moved to Orlando. And I was telling Hank about that, and he just blew up. He went off on Frank about, these ball players know nothing about what we're going. He just went into this torrent of things about how these young ball players don't revere the sacrifices these guys made for them to make the millions that they're making. And so it's like, that was an introduction to him. We talked about some other things, but yeah, when you mentioned, you talk about Jackie Robinson, and Frank pretty much was like, I really don't know about him. The guy in the locker next to him was Albert Bell at that time over at Sarasota. Albert showed far more reverence than Frank did. And but it was that was a great he was just a great guy to talk to. I mean, he could talk endlessly about baseball. He was just a hero of mine growing up. I was in the ballpark when I was in the ballpark the night he hit 715. So so I mean that is indelible. Every time I see that clip, I just get chills. I just watched it on MLB Network before I came in here, and just watching it over again, I got a chance to meet that went back for the 10th anniversary for him hitting the home run, and he and Al Downing decided the certificate from that game that night that my parents lost for me. Thank you, Mom and Dad. But I had both of their signatures, the pitcher and the hitter, both had signed that certificate.
Wow.
And in the reenactment, they made sure Hank would get a home run because they were home run hitting contest baseballs. Okay. All of them they were from the San Diego Padres. You in the locker room, you see this, and it's all this Padres swinging a bat, and they were all made specifically to hit home runs. And like on about the 12th attempt, Hank knocks it out of the ballpark. So I got a chance to talk to him again during the reenactment. And I've been back for every anniversary except for the 20th. I missed that when I was back for the 30th and the 40th. But he was always gracious, always amenable, a tremendous guy, very humble. And to be the stature person that he was, because you see lesser athletes with bigger heads. That's what I respected most about him, because he made a difference and he did some really wonderful things in life.
Hey, Terrence, as a pro athlete, understanding all the stuff he went through, he was getting hate mail, death threats, and the ability for him to go out and still perform. What does that take on that level? I know that baseball is still professional sports, the best in the world doing that.
It's just straight bravery, man. It's courage. it's courage to the highest level. Get death threats from you and your parents and your family, and you know, I'm gonna kidnap your kids and all these things, and you still go out there and perform at a high level. That takes, man, look, that takes a lot of courage for one. And that takes where you can hone in and dial in and say, I got a job to do. I'm putting my family's life and my life in God's hand, but I'm going out here to use the gift that He's given me to not only entertain, but to make a difference. Dude, that's huge, man. Yeah, and you know what? And some people say, well, you know, I don't know if I'm able to do that. Or, you know, how did he do that? You know, I'm one of those guys say I probably would have done that because of the fact that I would have known how important it was for me to do the things that I do for others to come up behind me. And I think I would have done it. You know, in today's professional athlete, it's and I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying all of them. It's just the ones that we portray throughout the media, on TV, whatsoever. It's a me generation. It's you know, I'm gonna look out for me first, and
My brain.
once I get mine, you know, you guys go ahead and get yours. And you know, it's sad to say that basketball, baseball, football don't know their history. You know, there's only the great ones know their history. And that's probably why they're great. If you think about it, LeBron knows his history. Jordan knew his history. You know, in football, you know, Peyton Manning and all those guys, Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, they knew their history. And that's why they're one of the greatest of all time. In baseball, Hank Aaron knew his place. Barry Bonds knew his place and knew the history because he grew up in history pretty much. So those great ones get it. Those ones that's all about, I can't wait till I get there and get my money and I can buy this and I can buy that and I can do this. And then you will kick those who made the path for you up under the bus. That's just
you know, Terrence, it's funny you mentioned that about Barry because, you know, Bomani Jones made a good point. And I said, man, I agree with you. He said, let's not use this day that we pay homage to Hank Aaron to bash Barry Bonds.
Right.
And I said, that's a good point. And then secondly, I actually tagged him and A-Rod in my tweet on Twitter. And then I saw Barry put out a pretty heartfelt statement about how much Hank meant to him. And then people were talking about how gracious Hank was when he did get the home run. And let's not forget, I'm out here, you know, like Tim was at the stadium when when Hank broke the record, but I'm out here when Barry broke it. I wasn't at the game, but I was watching it on TV out here. And so it's kind of funny to see both of those dynamics of being alive for both of these people breaking the record.
What do you think his legacy is, Hank's legacy? What's his legacy to you?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Still the RBI leader, still total bases, all these awesome categories that they said if they took away all his home runs, he still will have over 3,000 hits. That's absolutely fantastic. And just to just to be on all levels, great. You know, Negro Leagues, nice player. Then come to the minors up in Wisconsin, upstate Wisconsin, and then of course playing with the Milwaukee Braves, and then coming back with the Milwaukee Brewers. So he had a great affinity for Wisconsin, even though, you know, he's a Southern boy from Alabama and then spent most of his life probably in Atlanta, if you take in his playing career and thereafter. So I think his legacy, he should be definitely on Mount Rushmore.
And Tim,
baseball, absolutely.
Mine just made some great points there. And you think about all this other stuff that he had to deal with besides somebody throwing a fastball his way.
Oh, absolutely. It's that's the thing that gets you. It's like these cats nowadays, they're set for life with this contracts they're getting. 1 year's salary will set most people for life. They have not a care in the world. They're not, because I was watching Dusty Baker talk today about how he and Ralph Garr would read some of Hank's hate mail, and they didn't understand how he could do it, how he could perform under those kind of conditions. And all these guys got to do is sit around and nap before they go to a game, and perform and go home. They don't have anybody hating them 24/7. You know, they don't have any. The only kind of racial animus I've ever heard of was people who talk about playing in the outfield in Fenway. That's all you hear about that, but you don't hear about it anywhere else. So that's what I'm talking about. This guy had more pressure.
Nobody's in segregated hotels and
everybody's going to these 4 and 5 star hotels, and that's the thing about it. But you mentioned Barry being on his run. I was in. It wasn't. Gosh, it's not. Whatever your ballpark's called out there in San Francisco, it's not what it used to be.
It's Oracle now. It's called Oracle now, but it was Pac Bell. It was
Pac Bell. I was in Pac Bell against the Giants and the Cardinals, and I had a chance to watch Barry try to hit 715. And I was thinking, man, if he hits this thing tonight, I would have seen 2 cats hit 715 home runs in a lifetime, but he didn't. He didn't do anything that night. I think maybe he'd gotten a double. But there's a story I want to say about Hank, because you think about him always being serious and that aspect of the hate and the stuff he had to deal with and all the stuff. But he was, as a teammate, he was a funny guy and he was a prankster. And there's one story from an old sport magazine I read long ago. It was a feature of Ralph Garr. Dusty Baker looked at Hank as a second father. And whatever Hank said, Dusty did. He just followed him around like a puppy dog. So Dusty wasn't feeling well one day, and Hank just gave him a couple of pills and said, "You go take these, and these will make you feel better." What Dusty didn't know was those pills, all they did was turn your urine red. So Dusty went into the clubhouse restroom, went to go relieve himself, came back in and said, Hank, I'm gonna die. And you see Ralph and Hank just busting out laughing because all he saw was red coming out. He thought it was over. But Hank intentionally set Dusty up with the red pill, with the pills that made it turn red. So you think about that was one thing I think about when I see him, because it's not always just so serious all the time. It was just, he had a little bit of goof in him too.
And let's not forget, don't forget Dusty was in the on deck circle when that home run happened.
Oh no, yeah,
Dusty Baker was on the on deck circle. Yep.
Wow.
Matter of fact, they showed Dusty today saying that Hank was up there getting ready to go up there, and Hank says, "Let's end this."
Wow.
And that's when he went out and hit the home run.
Wow.
And Craig Sager was there too. Craig Sager, right. A young Craig Sager was there too. Yeah, in the trench coat. Yep.
In the trench coat.
I think Terrence mentioned earlier. I mean, another one. I mean, we have lost so many giants of late, and of our youth. So many of the people that we have looked up to throughout our lives as kids, and
But it's been a tough winter for the Braves, especially because they lost a guy, Bill Bocaroba, Don Sutton just earlier this week, a Braves announcer for a long time, and Phil Negro. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's been a tough couple of weeks for people who follow the Braves. So but this is the biggest, and this is felt by everybody because I understand the Falcons and the Hawks have said that this year nobody will wear number 44. Wow. So I think that's a tremendous tribute to the other sports and how it impacts the other folks. Yeah. So look at it. He was a civic leader here. He and his wife Billy Aaron donated millions of dollars over to the Morehouse School of Medicine, and that kind of thing. I mean, that's the kind of thing they did. He was a great businessman. Mercedes dealerships here, Krispy Kreme donuts. He had different franchises of that. I mean, he had a life after. Now there was a Netflix special on Clarence Avant. If you need to look at that, and there's Avant, a music guy, but he was just a connector.
Yeah.
Different.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and everything else. There's a piece in there about what Hank did, how he got Hank paid.
Spell his last name, Tim.
A-V-A-N-T.
Avon. Okay.
Avon.
Is that the Black Godfather? The Black Godfather?
Yeah. You need to look at that special because it talks about how
I saw it.
he got Hank paid during the home run chase. So he learned about business and that from that perspective. So it's been a really tough day for me because it's like this. He was my hero. I wore 44. I used to do anything that had Hank Aaron. I was on it. So yeah, this is a big deal for me.
Yeah.
Well, Terrence is about to say his. I think we cut him off.
No, I was good. I was just on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, man, hey, we stand on his shoulders and that generation. God bless the Aaron family. We're going to transition to the NFL, and you're watching the African American Athlete live stream with Ricky Hampton and fellow journalists Michael Robinson and Tim Turner. We're joined by All-Pro wide receiver Terrence Mathis. And guys, we got 2 games coming up this weekend, championship games. We're going to the Super Bowl. But before we get there, I want to talk a little bit about the hiring practices that are going on in the NFL.
What hiring practices?
Lack thereof. That's what it is.
One job is open still, right? Just 2 jobs open. Chicago and Houston, right?
No, Chicago, he didn't get fired.
He did.
No, it's Philly.
Philly hired a guy. They hired the guy.
That's right. That's right.
I think it's the Texans. That's the Texans.
That's right.
Yeah, they talking about getting a guy that just retired or that was just on the sideline.
That was on the practice squad. They signed from the practice squad. Yeah. Josh McNann.
Yeah.
Right. He got the job?
No,
they said he's very close though.
They interviewed him today.
Yeah.
And in Houston, former Lions coach and coach Jim Caldwell, who's an excellent coach.
Yeah, he's still in the
one of the finalists there. But Terrence, starting with you, man. Right now, there are 2 black coaches in the NFL, and 2 others of color with the recent hiring of Robert Salah and Ron Rivera in D.C. As a former player, I mean, what do you when you see this? And you were part of the generation to help move this game forward for people of color as black athletes begin to dominate the NFL.
I heard Louis Riddick say something yesterday, and it is very, very true. You know, even I, who has tried to get a job in the NFL, and they tell you you have to be able to do an internship for an NFL team. You had to be able to coach collegiately or high school and do these camps and all these things. I've done that. I've done it over the last 15 years. I've done that and still don't have a job. Then they come along and says, a few years ago, Louis Riddick said this, and I remember them saying this. Well, if you haven't been a coordinator or called plays before, that's one of the criteria of being a head coach. There's 2 coaches that got hired that has never been a coordinator and have never called plays. There's one that's in Detroit now, and there's one in Philly now, and they both are white coaches. And it's amazing to me how they change the rules as they go. And at the end of the day, it's not, you know, it's who you feel comfortable with. You don't care the experience, what you look like. It's just whoever. Right now, it's just whoever you feel comfortable with.
And guys, they talked about Eric Bieniemy. He's interviewing so poorly, as if he doesn't know how to sit down and talk to people. And then you hear Dan Campbell's interview the other day.
Oh, dude, don't even start. Don't start. Because I predict this right now. Detroit is going to fail miserably. That guy is going to be awful. That team is going to stink on high heaven. It's going to feel like a bunch of fish is inside Ford Field. It is going to be the most awful team ever with that guy.
And unprepared.
Yes. And he got a 6-year contract.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 6 years of doom, people. Get ready, Detroit. Y'all going to be paying that cat off for after this year for 5 years. That's what's going to happen. Because he's going to be awful. The Lions will stink. That guy right there, that rah-rah stuff, they just had rah-rah, And this Rob self is back in New England now as an assistant back under Belichick.
Yeah.
This right here is I watched that. I'm like, there's no way in the world he's gonna be able to command a locker room with that kind of foolishness.
So Mike, how can Eric Bieniemy, who's coordinated the most dynamic offense in the National Football League, not get a job?
All right. Well, before we get started, let me go back to what you said about Salah and Washington's coach.
Rivera.
Okay, so we get into the whole semantics of they're being called coaches of color, but what they're being determined by is not a color. Being Latino is not a color. And then is the other one, is it because he's Muslim that they're saying that he's considered a minority?
I look at it, if a cop pulls you over,
right,
and you got to put your hands up like this and hope he don't shoot you, you a color.
Was it Paul?
Right, but there's white Latinos though. That's what I'm saying. Is that there's white Latinos that can pass through.
But them two dudes, if they get pulled over, they better do this.
Well, it's more minority. Just say it's minority, the best way to put it. Minority.
Right. That's what they're saying. They're not saying race. They're saying minority because you're gonna have.
Right. No, but they'll say coaches of color though, like they're doing with Kamala.
That's the the icing they try to put on it to cover up the nastiness of the cake.
Exactly.
They screwed up the cake, but just put some icing on it to make it look nice.
Right.
It's like putting lipstick on a pig, as they say.
Right.
Well,
that's exactly what they're doing.
The Colts hired the first Indian descendant as their offensive coordinator, and this is Indian from the Far East, not from Native American.
Right.
But nonetheless, if they're gonna say, look, we're expanding the field. It's just like Major League Baseball. A guy tried to tell me about all these black ball players in Major League Baseball. I said, no, those guys are from the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
They're not from the United States. Right. You don't see United States kids playing baseball that much anymore. It's too expensive and all this other stuff that goes with it. Mm-hmm. So, it's the semantics are to just fit, to check boxes as far as they're concerned.
Exactly.
And they're going to say, I remember I was out there looking for a church in the Bay Area, and I called up this church, and I said, is your church diverse? And they said, yeah, we're diverse. I rolled up in there, 80 white people, 4 Asians, 2 blacks. Okay. I didn't ask for the makeup when I was on the phone, but that's not diverse.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's the thing about it, is that that's the calling card out here, is that everything's about diversity, but some of it's like kind of slanted. But back to the Bieniemy scenario, definitely if they win again, it will help him. They win again, and then Andy's gonna have to really step up for him and say, look, this guy is absolutely qualified. Stop giving me credit for all the offense, that I'm not calling everything and you trying to diminish what he's doing. Because that's absolutely what's happening. Is like, well, I know some of these other coordinators or position coaches that got hired, they didn't actually call the plays, but they learned so much under the tutelage of the actual play caller.
Yeah.
But when the black players don't do that, I was like, see, they're not experienced. They don't have what it takes. They don't interview well. It's always, and this, of course, no pun intended, they're always moving the goalposts.
Yeah, and Terrence, I think Mike is right on about that, especially what they're saying about Bieniemy as a coordinator. They're trying to give all the credit to Andy Reid, who's obviously an excellent coach. But come on, this guy's doing something right.
Well, from my sources is this: Eric Bieniemy puts together the game plans. He runs the meetings. He call plays. Andy Reid would come in and say, well, let's try this. And they agree upon what they want to do. So if that's not a coordinator, I don't know what it is. So, but, it could be one of those things. And Andy has stood up, but he hasn't stood on the table for Eric Bieniemy.
Right.
Because I truly believe if they win it again, Andy Reid will probably go into the front office and Eric Bieniemy be the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
Either that, because of what's happening right now, I'm of the mind that Kansas City is going to run it up on Buffalo this week. and whoever they play in the Super Bowl, they're gonna run it up on that, and then somebody, Mahomes or Hill or Reed or somebody or Kelsey or not Kelsey, Kelsey.
Kelsey would be a good spokesperson.
All these cats going to sit up and say, "We did this because of Eric Bieniemy. You guys did not get, we blow these people out because of his game plans, okay?" Right. And I don't see how you get cats. It's like, they look at we see who we play next year on our schedule, and we're gonna take it out on all of y'all if you're still here.
Right. Well, Chance, do you think the fact that he's got this phenomenal quarterback that makes everything look easy actually hurts him? Because they may say he's only doing this because he's got.
No. Look what Chad Henne did in a game and a quarter. He was doing the same things. So I think it's a system, and I think he knows players, and he knows how to get the best out of players and how to set them up for success. And that's what it's about, being a coordinator, knowing what you have and how to put them in situations to be successful. And Eric Bieniemy does a great job of that. And understand this, yeah, he has a great quarterback. He has a quarterback that they call Magic Man, but he finds a way to get the ball in everybody's hand, all the playmakers' hands. That takes some studying and some time. Believe me, I've coordinated before, and you're trying to get all your best players to touch the football. That's tough, man. That's really tough.
And man, that's a good point. I was here in Detroit when the Lions drafted Andre Ware. They ruined him. This dude could do everything. He was a shell of himself when he left here 3 years later.
Yep.
He did not get he did not get the proper instruction, Mike, he needed to
exactly.
Right. And
Ricky.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying, and the first Black Heisman Trophy winner.
Right.
A quarterback.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
You know what I'm saying? You come in with that pedigree, and let's not forget Rodney Peete. So you got these two Black quarterbacks. One played at USC, one played in that great offense in Houston, and this guy got the moniker as being the first Black quarterback to win the Heisman. Well, it should have been McPherson, but that's another story. But he's the first one, and they're both at Detroit together. I had a problem with that. I said, now they're going to cancel each other out. Remember that?
Yeah. I
knew that was going to be a disaster anyway.
Was it 92 at the NABJ or 93 at the NABJ in Houston? I mean, in Detroit, we went to the game. They played the Patriots, a preseason game, and I got down there and was in the locker room, and it was Pete and Andre didn't talk to each other. That's how bad it was.
Yeah,
it was enmity between those two cats. So you can see that right there. That was an ugly scene. But,
and Eric Kramer ended up playing more than all of them.
Yep,
exactly.
And took it to the NFC title game. But that goes to that. I said that to make your point about quality coaching, because you could get bad instruction, and if you're an NFL player, I'm sure it doesn't take you long to figure out if a guy knows what he's doing or doesn't know what he's doing.
I hear people say all the time, but they're professionals. They should know what to do and how to do it whatsoever. Yeah, there's a lot of professionals in Coca-Cola, UPS, and all Home Depot and all that. They don't just go into work and go, okay, I know exactly what to do. I know what the game plan. I know what our mission is. They got to get direction to be great. And the thing is, you can have all this talent in the world, but if you're not set up to use it properly, you're going to fail. And it's coaching. I'm going to stop using that word coaching. It's teaching. It's teaching. Because you can get a title of a coach, but you got to be able to teach. That's the thing. You got to be able to teach, demonstrate, explain, and really show what you want and what you expect from your players. And if you can't do that, the only coaches that can do that are those that been around great coaches for a long time or played for a while, because now they understand the athlete and they understand what they go through and they understand how to practice, how to train, how to condition, and how to get the guys ready to play. Now, when you got a guy who you get these guys that may have played all the way up to Division III college or whatsoever, or wouldn't even play college. How are you going to relate to a guy that's been playing football since he was 5 years old and now he's 30 years old and he's been playing longer than you've been alive pretty much, and you're going to try to tell him what to do and how he should feel and how he should do it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about when your time in Atlanta, because it seemed like you guys came out of nowhere. Okay, and was it Glanville? Was it Dan Reeves? I mean, who was your position coach? Who are the folks that seemed like it turned everybody stepped their game up exponentially from one year to the next?
Well, the year Dan Reeves came in, it was 97. Took over for June Jones. And right away, it was attention to detail. It was high expectations. Didn't care how much money you made, if you was a superstar whatsoever. Everybody was treated like men, and everybody was treated the same. And we held each other accountable. That was the biggest thing. This was the first time where I can go to Ray Buchanan and say, hey man, you got to practice better. Dude, come on, man. You can't get beat like that. We got to have it. And he didn't get mad and we're not fighting. You see what I'm saying? And vice versa. T, you got to make that catch. I'm not mad. I'm going, you right, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way it was that year we went to the Super Bowl. We held each other accountable without being upset. You go to one of the stars now and say, dude, you're killing us.
Yeah.
This is going to be cursing and fighting.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know what,
You
Tim?
disrespected me, man. You disrespected me.
Yeah, that's what it is. You disrespected me.
I think about this thing with Kyrie Irving now, not wanting to play. I know he's going through some stuff, but it seems like a team would say, yo, first of all, you all right, man? If you're okay, bro, we need you.
Well, you know what? They're not telling the story, what's going on with Kyrie.
Right.
And I don't know what the story is, and I'm trying to figure it out, and I can't even speculate. But it goes back to what I said earlier about Hank Aaron. Didn't matter what was going on in society, what people were doing or saying to him. It was, I'm going out to play, and I'm going to slap you in the face by performing in spite of how you feel and what's going on in society.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's what
it seems like Kyrie's being influenced by some stuff that's going on off the court. Whereas these cats, like, I can't imagine LeBron ever saying, you know, I'm gonna miss a game to go to some political something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that his job is to be out there for basketball, and that's where that's where his leverage is, being a basketball player. Right. His voice is there. I can't see, you know, it's a different mindset from these different cats. Like you said, great ones know their history. LeBron was out there in the forefront of the stuff all last summer. Mm. A lot of these cats, I think, were just pulled along, right, and really weren't invested in it beyond thinking, I don't really think it'll happen to me because financially, you're never going to be in those situations, or rarely in those situations. They may stop you on occasion because you're in a nice car, but you're not going to have anybody put a cop put a foot on your neck or anything like that. Mm-hmm. You know, unless you're in Milwaukee and then pay for the Bucks. Yeah. And they pull you over in the parking lot.
Hey, bro, when you look like we do, it's always a possibility. I mean,
right.
It's always a possibility.
Think about Hurricane. Think about the Hurricane. What happened to him?
Yeah.
The boxer. You know, here he is, a champion boxer, and got basically set up and went to prison. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a possibility. I mean, it's a little harder if you are a super duper star because just a quarter of a fan opinion would not really let that happen. But if you're a fringe player, someone in the middle of the road, it could easily happen to you. Just like it happened, what's his name for the Bucks?
And to our young viewers out there, the Hurricane Reuben Carter, the great boxer. Mm-hmm. You probably saw him in the movie with Denzel Washington. Let's go talk some football games, man. But let me just get everybody caught up. You're watching the African American Athlete live stream. I'm Ricky Hampton, along with fellow journalists Michael Robinson, Tim Turner. We have all-pro receiver Terrence Mathis with us. Championship weekend, guys. In the NFC, we got the Packers.
And the Bucks.
I ain't saying another team because we got the Packers. They're going to win that.
This should be the Super Bowl game. This game should be the Super Bowl game. Good gracious. You know what? I thought it would have took Tom Brady another year and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers another year to jail the way they jailed. I don't know what game it was where him and Bruce kind of went after each other in press conferences. And then all of a sudden they come out the next week and light it up and things just change for them all of a sudden. And then, but I tell you what, when you have a defense the way they have a defense, you can play well offensively because you know you're going to get the ball back. You know you're going to have good field position and you can take chances because you know your defense is going to stop them. And as far as Aaron Rodgers, God, dog, man, just listening to him talk right now, he's just in a different.
I know.
He's so chill. He's just so chill.
Cool about him right now. Like, bring it on, man. We'll play Kansas City and Tampa Bay at the same time. That's the way his attitude is right now. I love it, man. I've always loved Aaron Rodgers, but dude, this dude right now, he's letting Green Bay know, I'm that dude. I don't care who you drafted to replace me. I'm that dude.
Yeah.
When you look at Tampa from their perspective, I think that they're going to be kind of handicapped because Mike Evans is kind of banged up. They just ruled out Brown today. Yeah, so you know you're going to have to rely on these little Edelman-like receivers. And Godwin the last game he was horrible. Godwin was you know with a bunch of drops and that kind of thing. I don't think they're gonna be ready up there, especially it's supposed to be it's I think 30 degrees and snow showers. And it's a mindset. I know you know, Terrence, you said it before, you know, it's cold on both sides of the field. But those cats have been they've been in Lambeau in 30 snow showers.
Well, this is the thing.
And you know what? Let's also put this in perspective. Hold on one second. People want to call during the show. All right. So you got to put this in perspective. 21 points off of turnovers that they gave them. Okay. Mm-hmm. Brady was almost picked off, 3 or 4 times. They dropped every one of them. Right. And so I would think that you shouldn't be that confident when you could have easily lost that game. And think about it. Cincinnati doesn't have a Super Bowl right now because the late Lewis Billups dropped the pass from Montana. He picked off Montana, would have sealed the game. They would have won the Super Bowl. Instead, people laugh at Cincinnati. Say that's a horrible team. You know, the franchise is definitely dog ugly. You know, blah blah blah. And I said, you know what? They actually had 2 close Super Bowls with San Francisco, but nobody remembers second place. And that's why Carpe Diem is the most succinct slogan ever. Because if you don't seize the day, it will come back to get you. And that's what was happening in that New Orleans game. They just 21 points off of turnovers. You know, and then you drop these interceptions. Remember, they dropped that 1 interception and they got the field goal. That's 3 points that you just gave away.
Once they figured out Breeze wasn't throwing it down the field, Chance, it seemed like they just squeezed it.
Right. Yeah. They did. And the thing is, and then their Murray was out, the other running back, so they didn't have that 1-2 punch. So you had to have Kamara hold the ball more than he needed to or wanted to, or that they wanted to. Man, you know, you're right, Michael. They were lucky to get out of there with a win. If you had if Breeze was healthy, if he was a healthy Breeze, it would have probably been a different outcome. But with that being said, Tampa Bay going to Green Bay, here's a team that is not used to playing big games. The players on that team, besides you take Tom Brady off the field, how many playoff wins do this team have? I would say maybe 1 or 2. Dominic Sue might have been in the playoffs and, you know, whatsoever. But the experience on the other side is the same way, but you got to understand they've been in the playoffs the last 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years or so at Green Bay, so they know the atmosphere. And Aaron Rodgers, got these guys. Fun. I have never seen Green Bay show so much swag in years. That defense, they're dancing, they're having a good time. Usually Green Bay doesn't, Clay Matthews and those guys, they didn't do that stuff. It was just hard hats and go. Now they're dancing and they jumping around and dude, they got confidence.
Well, you know what, Terrence? I'll tell you when. During the Reggie White, and then they had Leroy Butler.
Yep.
And then, of course, Charles Woodson.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe during that time was the last time they really had swag. And then, of course, our frat brother that's in jail now, when he was there. So that's when that team probably had last time they had swagger like that.
Last time they had swag.
Hey, Terrence, playoff, the intensity goes from here to there? Or what's that jump like from the regular season?
Hey, man, it's win or go home. And it's, every day of practice, meeting time, weightlifting, eating matters. Every day matters. It's a sacrifice. You got to say, I got to make this sacrifice for the next 3, 4, 5 weeks to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And that's win the championship, the ultimate Super Bowl. And when I say it's one of those things, because my wife would tell you, because she was there that year we went to the Super Bowl and getting ready, going through those playoffs, it was like tunnel vision. Yeah, baby, we can go out. Yeah, no friends, nothing. There was no all that. I need my time, my space to get ready for these most important games. And if you don't do that, if you let distractions come in, oh my goodness.
So you weren't handing out tickets?
Playoffs, you can't turn it on. You can't turn it off and on in the playoffs. You got to be on all the time.
So you weren't running out tickets and stuff like that?
No.
So we talked about Carpe Diem and taking advantage of a situation. What was it like for you guys on the sideline when Anderson didn't miss a field goal all year, goes up there and misses that field goal, and that pretty much put the Dirty Birds in the Super Bowl? What was that moment like?
Miss one. You had Morton Anderson.
Understand this. We had just won 10 games in a row.
Right.
And we felt we couldn't be beat. So when he lined up to kick that field goal, I wish they had cameras that whole time to go up and down the sideline. You had some guys huddling and praying. You had some guys on their knees and praying, holding hands. You had some guys on the bench. You had some guys that didn't want to look. And when that ball left his foot and he missed that ball, we knew right then and there, it's over.
Yeah.
Because they gave us a chance to get the ball, drive it all the way down, tie it up, and go into overtime. We knew right away. We knew once he missed it, game on now.
And Charles, at the time, did you know he hadn't missed a kick?
I didn't know until afterwards. We didn't know until we probably got in the locker room, on the bus, on the plane, and somebody said, that's the first field goal he missed all year. And we were like, wow. We were destined to go.
I don't believe you.
Exactly.
I believe you said that. I believe all of y'all was y'all were full. All of y'all were full by the time you got to the airport. It wasn't so wild.
Listen. I had already lit up my cigar in the locker room. I'm like, yeah.
But I think about the Saints in that game. I was a note that they said that they were 15 in the NFL history to score 30 touchdowns rushing and 30 touchdowns passing in a season. But they're the first ones to never go to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
To not go to the Super Bowl in that period. And then it talked about this is the third straight year Kansas City has hosted the AFC Championship. And the last time somebody hosted 3 straight conference championships was 2004 through 2006. And that was Philly. And their coach was Andy Reid.
Wow.
Wow.
So both of those Those things. So you got those things working.
Well, that game.
But Terrence, you're about to say something about the Saints and their offense.
No, I was about to say about the Saints. You know how we talked about the level of play increases when you get to the playoffs. Over the last few years, that hasn't happened for the Saints. I don't know what it's. I don't know. I don't know if it's.
They got Brave syndrome. They got Brave syndrome. What can possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
The last, it's like the catch by Diggs.
Yeah.
And you got the no PI.
Yep.
And you got this year.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, man. They just can't. They can't advance the way they want to. They can't get to another championship game. That's oof.
Did Brees throw a touchdown pass at all on Sunday? Because I know Jameis threw one, and that was
Yeah. And
James
the thing about it is that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just saying. I think they sold their soul that year they did win. Because think about it, the Colts were supposed to win. Remember, they both were undefeated that year, and then they let their foot off the pedal at the end of the season. Both of them, the Colts and the Saints that year. And then let's not forget the Saints were about to lose.
Oh yeah,
to Minnesota with Brett Favre,
mm-hmm.
And they had a lucky break where they got the penalty 12-minute huddle. Yeah. So that totally changed that. So I don't know. Sometimes, people will say, well, we're cursed. I said, sometimes you got to look at when did you have a lucky moment that you didn't, that maybe now coming back, the chickens are coming home to roost now.
Right.
So that's what I think it is.
The Bucks and Packers kick off at 3:05 Eastern Time Sunday. 6:40. We got the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City Chiefs. Your thoughts on that to kick it off, Terrence?
Well, I know in Buffalo, they was like, Kenny playing? Like, I know he's a good quarterback, but he ain't Patrick Mahomes. Until that word came over today. And they said, oh no. And right now, Patrick thought he wasn't going to be able to play. Maybe in his mind, he thought there's a chance that I might not play. Now that he knows he's playing, like I said earlier, game on. He's going to light it up. He's going to light it up because this is a young man that wants to play football, loves to play football, has a passion to play football, loves to be out there with his teammates, and his teammates love to be out there with him. And when you have that combination, that's dangerous. That's really dangerous. Now, Buffalo, in the other stint there, you know what? They have a chance to break that curse of years prior, going to 4 straight and not winning. That's pressure. That's pressure. It's more pressure on Buffalo to win than Kansas City.
As Kansas City's defense played against a mobile quarterback this year, somebody who could run because. This Allen is a different cat. I mean, he's no Chad Henne. He's not gonna give you break off a 17-yard run on you.
Right. I think they played against the Texans early in the year.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was it.
I'm thinking about, you're not gonna see a guy like Mahomes because you're gonna have to have somebody. You have to account for him in some way where you don't have to account for a lot of other people.
Right.
You don't have to worry too much about Brady running.
Right.
But you don't worry about Aaron Rodgers because he moves around, and that's going to be a different thing altogether.
Well, Josh Allen is their best running threat because their starter is out. So he's the best running threat. So, the thing is, if they're not able to run the ball and they got to throw the ball, it's going to be a long night for them. It's going to be a really, really long night for them because that front seven is special and that back end, no joke either. So they're going to mix it up. They're going to try to confuse Josh Allen. He's going to have to be on his A game.
When they played the Panthers earlier in the year and won 33-31, I don't know if my man still moves around that much.
Teddy didn't run until he have to.
Yeah.
That's true.
But, for me, of course. Play a mobile, as I look over there, they played Cam, whatever he is. So.
All right. Well, like I said, for me, of course,
they did play the Ravens. Okay. They beat the Ravens 34-20.
I thought they played the Ravens. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, for me, of course, I covered, the team you talked about, Terrence. I covered that great Bills team back in the early 90s when I was living in Pennsylvania. So, and I love that team. Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, that team, man, Andre Reed. I love that team. So I left that team. Then I come back home. I'm covering the Packers. and Brett had just become the starter because Mikowski blew out his knee the year before, and he came in as a reliever, and then 93 was his first year starting. And here's the other irony of it, Terrence. 94, the last game at County Stadium, because, now Ryan Wolf is like, well, we're too good to be, playing down here in Milwaukee. It's like a road game, so we're going to stop playing in Milwaukee. So the last game at County Stadium was actually against Atlanta.
I was in that
94.
game.
Yeah,
I remember that game. And Brett Hart made that remarkable run and to win the football game. Yep.
Yes. And I think that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the end of Sterling's career, because I remember he got hurt that game. And then I think he might have played one or two more. Right. He played one or two more games, and then he called it quits. Yep. Right. But I think Kansas City, I just, you know what? I doubted Buffalo last week, but they put it to him, and then that pick 6 by Lamar just was a backbreaker. But I think that they're gonna run out of steam. I think Cinderella will the slipper will not be found, and it will turn midnight. So I think KC is going to get it done. But we have to worry about Mahomes' foot, because that is more of a threat than the whole hit to the head and all that. Yeah. And then, of course, in the other game, I'm not being biased because I'm a Wisconsinite, but I just think the Packers seem to be more ready. And I just think that this whole Tampa Bay, as Skip loves to say, is going to be finally over, that long nightmare. So I got Green Bay, Kansas City, a matchup of old school Super Bowl back in the day.
Our matchup, as our friend Ralph Ritter checks in to say, is going to be an all-state farm Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Yep. But this is the deal. I hope they just don't do like CBS did last week and just wear us out with the quarterback storylines.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness.
They will.
That was awful, man.
Fox. They both played like garbage, really.
Yeah, they did. They did. That was awful.
Just like, this was overkill. Production meeting. Let's look at everybody else. This is not Rodgers versus Brady. It's Rodgers versus that defense, Brady versus that defense. Right. They got nothing to do with each other.
Nothing to do.
Let's talk about the teams in total. They're going to use the Buffalo storyline, and maybe they're going to say it's the 2 young gun quarterbacks.
Right.
Let's not go there. Talk about the teams in total, because they have a complete offense in Kansas City. Buffalo has great receivers, and they have a solid defense. Let's spread it out a little bit on these people this week.
Right. Don't hold your breath on that, Tim. You know that, right?
It'd be even worse. It'd be worse for the Super Bowl build-up. Oh, yeah. Just imagine that. If Tom Brady's playing in Tampa for the Super Bowl, it's going to be ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And we only got a couple of minutes left. Your thoughts on Terrence? I'm assuming you like Kansas City Sunday, from what you've been saying.
Yeah, I like Kansas City. They can run the football. They can throw the football. Offensively, they do some things that stretch the field. You can't play man-to-man because that speed will kill you. Defensively, I like what they do in the secondary where they can play man-to-man because they know they're going to get some pressure up front. And I just like the way the game is called for them offensively and defensively with confidence. No matter the where you are on the field, what's going on in the game, they stick to their game plan and they execute with confidence. And that's why I like Kansas City, because this is a team that's been there three times in a row, and then playing a team in Buffalo, which guys have not experienced anything like this before. So I'm gonna go with experience and over newcomers in this game.
And what could even that game up? Turnovers, even though Rodgers doesn't turn the ball
over. What can even that game up is this. If Brady can complete some balls early in that game and keep them on the field, that could even the game up. I think the running game is going to balance out a little bit. But in the passing game, I think Green Bay has the edge. But if Tom Brady can keep up a little bit, it's going to turn out to be a good game. When I say keep up, no, you can't have 5, 6 more 3-and-outs than Green Bay. It has to be maybe 1 or 2 more or less for them to be in the game. If they're punting the ball a lot, they lose the football game.
Hey, as a receiver, tell us about Devontae Adams. It seems like he's just gotten better and better. Or is it Rodgers that makes him?
Well, it's both of them, really. At the end of the day, he has to do something to get confidence from his quarterback. And then the more targets you get, the more confidence you get. And I tell that to people all the time. If you're getting targeted 10, 12 times a game and you catching 8 or 9 of them, your confidence level is high because your quarterback has confidence in you to get the ball to you. So you're going to work your butt off to get open and make plays for him. So, and what did he catch? 2 balls last week or something like that? And he didn't care. He didn't care. He knew the matchup. He, was a good one against Ramsey. He knew that. And that's when we was talking about shutdown corners, lockdown corners. And we talked about Jalen Ramsey, and I told you guys he was a shutdown corner. And that's what he did. But he knows that his time is coming. So, at the end of the day, he's not selfish, and he understands it's about the team. And when his number is called, he makes plays, and that's what makes a good receiver.
Man, this has been a great hour, guys. We had an opportunity to pay our respects to the great Hammer and Hank Aaron and talk a little football. We got a chance to talk about the coaching situation regarding Black coaches in the NFL. We got to talk about the upcoming games. So we'll be back Super Bowl week, guys, and we'll break it down from there. Terrence, thank you so much, brother. We really appreciate
it. Appreciate it. Much love.
All right. Terrence Mathis, Michael Robinson, Tim Turner, I'm Ricky Hampton. Good night. God bless. We'll see you Super Bowl weekend. Take care, everybody. Peace.